Hi guys, welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia, I'm coming to you from the UK and today is Saturday, the 1st of July 2023. I've been trying to record this podcast now for a while and I have just forgotten how to talk. I cannot finish sentences, I am completely all over the place. So I thought we would start afresh and we'll just keep going. Whatever happens now, you're just part of the madness. So yeah. Good luck to us. This is a knitting podcast. If you're watching for the first time, welcome. And if you're coming back, thank you so much for being a regular viewer of this podcast. Today I am wearing my Lento number 4. Lento number 4. This is my 4th Lento, but the 3rd one that actually turned out wearable. I talked about this at length in previous episodes, but essentially it's a strand of Nori yarns mohair held together with, what was it? Oh yeah, with Uppingham yarns. Uppingham yarns, they have like a British wool, which is sort of very fine fingering weight yarn. And I held those together and I made this Lento, which honestly, it's been worn for so long, I haven't really worn it. And then I wore it yesterday. And I realized it's quite cropped. It is more cropped than I was planning and that I remember it being, but I do quite like it. Actually, it's really sort of cute to throw over now that it is still summery weather, but a little bit chilly in the mornings. So yeah, that is my Lento, and as you can tell, I did the different decreases. I did eyelet increases, instead of the make one right, make one left ones. Anyways, that is what I'm wearing. Should we talk about some finished objects? Yeah, so finally I have finished these socks, which I'm guessing you guys are so sick of even hearing about. These are the socks that I knit when my son was in hospital briefly in April. And I think they had that sort of hospital knitting emotion stuck to them, which is why they took so long to finish, even though the yarn is beautiful. There's nothing wrong with them, they just took me forever. But I finally sat down last week and just finished them. So the yarn is a sort of gradient yarn. So you don't change yarn, it just does this thing by itself. It comes in 2 50-gram skeins, which then create 2 perfectly matched socks. And this is yarn by Gusto Wool in their Echoes range. So the Echoes is the sort of gradient range they have. And I think this is colorway 1512. As you can tell, I didn't change colors or anything for the heel because the color runs are so long. I feel like you can kind of get away with just knitting the heel within the color gradient, and it doesn't really show up too much. And I actually really like them. I don't know why it took me so long. These are just some sort of quite long plain stockinette socks. My usual sort of recipe with 64 stitches on a 2.25 millimeter needle with a shadow wrap heel and yeah, just your general sort of wedge toe. Nothing fancy at all, but I'm glad that they're done. I think I still have some ends to weave in, and there's some markers hanging off, which I think this is where I was last time I showed these to you 10 days ago, so you can see I've made a fair bit of progress. And then this was just from counting my rows, I think. So these socks are done. And in a similar vein, literally the day when we came home from my son's little surgery, my yarn for my prison blanket had arrived. So I had planned that out quite intensely over a couple of weeks before that. And we got home completely exhausted. And 10 p.m. my neighbor, who's really cute, knocked on the door because he saw we were still up and delivered me this amazing Pearl Soho package with all the yarn for my prison blanket. And I didn't bring it with me, but I'm going to put in a photo here. I have finished my prison blanket. It took me, I think, 2 months and 4 days to finish, which is kind of crazy. But to be fair, I was obsessively knitting on it. I didn't really ever put it down except for when we went on holiday for 10 days. So yeah, the prison blanket is a free pattern by Pearl Soho. And they also brought out kits with the original yarn. I didn't buy a kit as per se, but I did actually use the recommended yarn, which is Pearl Soho Good Wool. Just a reminder, I'm not sponsored. This is just everything I buy with my own money. Yeah, so I bought the good wool in a couple of colors. I spent a long time planning them out, and they have a little chart that you can then color in. So then you basically follow your own chart in terms of the color placement. And I tried so many options, and in the end I just basically went with what they suggest, except for I think I switched around like 2 or 3 squares. And yeah, it was just such a fun knit. Because my gauge was off, instead of increasing to 85 stitches per square, I only increased to 73, which, because my gauge was off, I did the math and that gave me the same size blanket, because I didn't want to run out of yarn or mess around too much. In hindsight, I could have made my squares a little bit bigger, because I made the larger size, it's not very large, which they recommend 2 skeins per color. But of my 3 contrast colors, I only used 1 skein. And when I say 1 skein, I literally used the entire skein. And I had like this much over of each color once I was done, which is fine because I had more yarn as a backup. But obviously that also has to do with the fact that my gauge was off. So don't go buying less yarn than recommended on my behalf, because that might never work again. In fact, I could really see myself making another one of these with the same yarn in different colors one day. And I'm worried myself that if I do try this again, what if I do run out of yarn? Because I don't want to buy 3 extra skeins just for the fun of it. But it was very close. So anyways, the blanket is done. I really enjoyed it because it was simple enough to be like, you know, TV knitting. But because you did these blocks and you changed colors, it was still engaging. There were a couple of ends to weave in, I will be honest, but yeah, it's done. I love it. I love the colors still, and I'm really excited because I basically have 3 full skeins and 2 part skeins left over now, and I'm totally making myself a matching sweater. Like, that was always my intent. Like, if I have enough yarn left over, I'm gonna make myself a sweater, because I really enjoyed that yarn. So I think that's what we're doing. Not anytime soon. We are in July, but yeah, I am excited to use that yarn for a sweater and see how it holds up, actually. Yeah, I think that is it for my finished objects, but I have actually worked a fair bit on my works in progress as well. So this one I didn't talk about on my last episode. This is my Islander sweater by Ellie of Skandia. This is a sort of well-known Norwegian pattern, but she brought out this version that is really clever because you do it top down. There's no like picking up of stitches or any like faffy like knitting the front and knitting the back or anything. Like, it's really cool in terms of the construction. And I did the more complicated version that did the short rows, so you can see there's like a slant in the shoulders, which did involve knitting color work flat. But it wasn't that difficult. It was just sort of trust the pattern and go with what Ellie says, and then it'll be fine. So yeah, this is my Islander sweater, and this is where I was last time I showed this to you. So you can see, considering this is a fingering weight sweater, I have made a fair bit of progress. This is not a quick knit, I will be honest. I think it's like a 24-25 stitch gauge. And it's very simple in terms of the color work. It's very memorizable. Once you get sort of past the neckline, it's basically just knitting a big square. Like, there's nothing complicated about it. It just does take time because obviously it is a sort of all over color work, fingering weight sweater. But what I have done is I have finished the stick for the sleeve. So I'm eventually going to cut this open, and it's going to have like a dropped shoulder sleeve. So now I am about 3.5 inches into the body of my sweater. And yeah, I love it. It always shows up a bit more, I don't want to say gray, of course it's gray. It shows up a bit darker on screen than it actually is, but I actually really like this color combination. I've been meaning to do like a sort of monochrome sweater for a while, and if you recall, I first cast this on using the gray and a pink, but the contrast just wasn't working. And in hindsight, I'm so glad I went back and went for this color palette, because I think this is going to be really really cool to wear in winter. Yes, I am talking about winter. I've had enough summer for now. My plan was to make this sort of quite boxy, because I tend to knit Scandia patterns and knit them too small, and then they're very like body like fitting, and I just want the look of like a more oversized sort of, not a skiing sweater, but that sort of look. So I hope I chose the right size. What I did is I made the armhole deeper, because I have knit Ellie's Ultra pattern before, which is a similar construction, and it was just not enough ease for my like I can wear it, I have worn it, it's fine, but it wasn't enough ease for the like armpit for my personal taste. And I looked up the project pages on Ravelry for this one, and I noticed that quite a few people have done the same for this, because obviously you want a bit of room if it's supposed to be like a roomy sweater, at least for me personally. So I think I knit the armhole to 20 centimeters roughly. It's like 19 or 20. And then I'm just going to do some rapid decreases to make sure I have fitted sleeves, but I will just have a bit more room, like with this. Like my armpit is up here, and this is just extra fabric that makes it sort of more comfortable, and yeah, I prefer that. So yeah, that's where we are. I'm not sure if you can tell. The top bit has been blocked, and when feeling it, you can definitely tell the difference in the blocked versus the unblocked yarn. Like this looks a bit more uneven, and also just feels more like holey and thin, whereas where it's been blocked, it just fluffs up and it's just beautiful. The yarn that I'm using, my contrast color is JC Rennie in the, what is it called? I can't remember. If I'm really good, I'll put it on the screen. Otherwise, it'll be on Ravelry. But it's a JC Rennie super soft yarn, which is absolutely gorgeous. I love knitting with it. And this is actually I bought cones of these yarns, and out of my 500 gram cone, I have knit an anchor sweater. I have knit another sort of self-drafted sweater holding this together with a different colorway. And now I'm using this for my third sweater. So all of this out of a 500 gram cone. And I bet I'm going to have yarn left over after this as well. There's no way I'm going to be using this up. So that's crazy to see how far like one cone of fingering weight yarn can get you. And my gray is from New Lanark Spinning Mill. I think in balls they only sell like a DK and Aran weight yarn. But Amy Palco said to get their 4-ply, which if Amy Palco says that, I'm going to do that. So this is one of their 4-ply cones. I don't really know the colorway or anything like that. They just had them on their webpage a while ago, and they were quite affordable. To be fair, most of my yarns are quite affordable. Oh, it's colorway limestone. There you go. And it's a 4-ply. Both of these, obviously, they haven't been washed. They're basically, on the cones, greasy yarns. But I talked about this last week. If you're interested in cones, go back. I enjoy this kind of yarn, and once you wash it, it'll be the exact same. It's just a bit more affordable. So yeah, those are my yarns, and they work together really well. Like all these sort of light fingering weight British wools tend to work great for color work and for sticking. Like they're quite sticky, so I'm not worried about this at all. Also, what's really interesting, besides me dropping stitches all over the place, I am using my liquor needles that I got myself for my birthday. And these ones, obviously I have been knitting on this a fair amount, and they've gone really dark. Like I like them, but they've gone from like a light pink to this magenta color, which I think is really interesting. Let's compare. So this is how they started out. Can you tell? How crazy is that? I thought that was really, really, really interesting. I think it's just because I can feel with having knit with them, they just like, I don't want to say they get greasy, they don't, but obviously, you work with your hands and you touch things, and they've just become really, really slick, and I actually really enjoyed it. I think a lot of times, at least for me personally, and let me know your experience, wooden needles, the more you knit with them, the better you get. But yeah, I was quite shocked when I realized how dark these have gone, but I think it's a good thing. I'm really enjoying working with them. Would be interested if this also happens to other people, but yeah, I thought that was quite funny. Next up, I have been working on my Rowan felted tweed cardigan, which doesn't really have a good name. Again, I talked about this at length in the past, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but essentially I am using this yarn, which is Rowan felted tweed in the colorway duck egg, to make myself a cardigan. And I used the no frills sweater pattern just because I had it in my library and the gauge matched, to use like the cast on numbers and the short rows and stuff. But basically ever since I finished the short rows, I've just been doing my own thing. So I have placed the steek in the middle, so I'm going to be eventually cutting this open and turning this into a cardigan. This is where I was last time I showed this to you. And so you can tell I have knit a lot of the body, but I have also knit some sleeves. So I've actually made a fair bit of progress on this. Essentially, I split for the sleeves, and then when I finished one of my balls of yarn, I decided to knit the sleeves first because I don't really know how much yarn this will take, and also I am working on a couple of sweaters that will all need sleeves at some point, so I thought I'll get some sleeves out of the way, and then at least I won't be stuck on Sleeve Island with 2 sweaters at the same time. So what I've done is I have knitted 2 sleeves, but as you can tell, they're not finished yet, and that is because it's really hard to try on and like get the correct fit of this cardigan as long as I haven't sticked it. Like I could eyeball it, but I really like sometimes I finish things and I don't pay 100% attention to how long the sleeves are, and usually it's fine, but with this I want the sleeve length to be perfect. And I could of course try it on as a cardigan, as a sweater. I can try this on no problem, but because I'm going to be adding button bands, I don't really know. Like I did the math, but still, like how much fabric is the button band going to create and so on. So I've decided to just knit to like a reasonable length. And once I'm done with the body and I have cut it open and I can try it on and see how it fits, and if it sort of fits nicely on the shoulders or if it slips off the shoulders, depending on what happens then, I can decide the perfect length of the sleeves, and I'll just pick up and knit the cuffs. And also this way, obviously I'll still have to keep some yarn for the sleeves, but it's only the cuffs now that I need to do, so it's going to be much more easy to estimate how much yarn I will need rather than finishing the body and then just starting the sleeves. Sorry, that was a very long explanation. I feel like, again, words are not coming to me today, but I hope you persevere nonetheless. So yeah, I'm still absolutely loving the yarn. I am also using my liquor needles for this, but this is a green pair that I got on eBay or something. But yeah, same needles. I'm still enjoying them, and yeah, I'm really happy with the amount of progress I got done on this. And actually, I have maybe a bit less than half a ball attached to this, and I have 3 more balls of yarn, so I don't think I need to be worried about running out of yarn at all. But obviously you never know, so I thought I'd rather be safe than sorry, especially because I bought this yarn quite a few years ago, and quite a few years ago I used to have a different figure and I would use less yarn. Also, I feel like the trend is definitely more oversized at the moment, and I'm definitely enjoying more oversized knits. So a lot of the sweaters quantities that I bought myself 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, like they're still enough to make a sweater for me, but I just need to be paying more attention to that now than I used to. So yeah, there we go. That is my Rowan felted tweed cardigan that doesn't have a name. And I have 2 more projects. This one is a complete tangle, because I basically threw it in a corner and didn't work on it for a week. But if we untangle this, this is my Toaster Tea by the Cray Bear, Toaster tee number 2. Again, I've talked about the toaster thing at length. Essentially, it is just a plain raglan top, and you can customize it as you can with any other raglan top or any other sort of simple stockinette sweater. Yeah, so there we are. I am using the original yarn, which is the 100% cotton by Woolly Knit, in the colorway mustard. And as you can tell, this one I've decided against stripes. I'm just gonna make this mustard top, and I think I really love this color. I think it's really, really, really cute. And I do realize I am once again dropping stitches, but I will pick them up later. Yeah, so I'm basically doing the exact same thing as I did with my last one because the fit was good. Except I'm going to make this one a bit longer because my previous one, again, not the pattern's fault, I just sort of accidentally cropped it a bit too much. And like, whereas this is sort of like intentionally, like it looks intentionally cropped, the other one just looks in between. Like, did I run out of yarn? Did I forget how long my torso was? Or did I really mean for it to be that awkward length? So this one I'm going to make a little bit longer. Yeah, I've basically not been working on this very much because, as with the first one I knit, the combination of the 100% cotton and possibly these short licker needles is hurting my hands. Every single time I've worked on one of these, I've sort of noticed having issues with my right, is it the thumb joint? So obviously I don't want to mess up my hands because I love knitting and I get really, really grumpy if I cannot knit. So I've not worked on this for about a week, but I think I'm going to pick it up today and see how it goes and just take it really slow because I was just kind of racing through this. I don't know if anyone else does this, but especially when I'm on the yoke, until I split for the sleeves, it's just a race. Like, I just want to knit until I finally can separate for the sleeves, and then I get more into a rhythm, which is really strange. But yeah, so this has been in timeout for a little bit, but I think I will pick it up today because this will be good F1 knitting. And yeah, so that is my toaster tee. And then last but not least, sorry, I feel like everything is in tangles today. Last but not least, we have not one, but 2 tube socks. So you may remember I was working on a very long tube sock, sock tube, out of this rainbow yarn, which is Fab Funky Fibers in the Never Ending Rainbow colorway. And last night I have separated the tube into 2 socks. So to start from the beginning, I started with knitting the toe, and then I basically knit this entire tube, which is 50 grams of sock yarn. I only buy 50 grams of self-strapping because it is enough for me, even with my very large feet. I have size 42 to 43 EU, to make myself a pair of socks if I knit contrasting heels, cuffs, and toes. So I knit this entire tube, and then yesterday I picked up the stitches to then snip 1 stitch and turn it into 2 socks. And if you are interested in that process, just put sock tubes into Google or YouTube and you will get tutorials for it. And so last night I finished both cuffs. I did 20 rows of 2x2 rib in the same Arbetta Filcolana yarn that I use for the toes. And I have roughly placed my needles where I plan to put the heel in, but I need to recalculate that, and then I'm going to make some afterthought heels, and these will be done. And yeah, I really like these. I put them on yesterday and they fit so well. They're so cozy, and I love the rainbow, obviously. I'm really, really excited about these. You can tell now because rather than buying 100 gram skein and matching these, I knit them as a tube. Obviously they don't match, and also the rainbows are going the opposite way, which I could not care less. But so if you were to perfectly match them, they should be like this. But clearly they are not, and I also don't care at all. I love this yarn. I've talked about Fab Funky Fibers before. I really, really enjoy the self-striping, I must say. And I do feel like if you can only buy 50 grams of a self-striping skein, it becomes a whole lot more affordable. So yeah, that's where we are. These should be finished next week for sure, because I just need to sit down, do the heels. Maybe I'll just do that today and get through that. Because I have been finishing a couple of things, and my dream scenario, which might not happen, but in a perfect world, I would like to finish these and finish a toaster, or at least make some significant progress on the body. And then I can cast on all the things. So we will see how it goes, but those are my rainbow socks. Alright, you guys, that is it in terms of what I've been working on. I have a little bit of yarn to show you. Should I show you? Let's actually show it, because it sort of relates to what I've been talking about in the past. So you may remember I was talking about trying more summer yarns and cotton yarns, and essentially I started out with this yarn to make some washcloths, and you guys gave me some great suggestions for that. This is Scrappy's Katona, which I used to make myself some half and half washcloths. And you know what? I have been using them all the time and I love them. Just in case you want a review of that, I got myself these perfect little hooks. Like, I spent a lot of time researching the perfect hooks, and now they hang in the bathroom. They look really cute together, and I've been using them every day for washcloths and face cloths, and they are working so well. Someone said mercerized cotton wouldn't be great for washcloths, but you know what? It is absolutely fine. I really enjoy it. I feel like they are just softening up even more with washing and using them, even though it was a soft like cotton to begin with. Like, this is not the sort of crunchy cotton. But yeah, I also mentioned that I had wanted to look into cotton and bamboo, and someone rightly pointed out that probably that would be more for garments rather than washcloths or dishcloths or anything like that. And of course they were right. But yeah, the idea of more sort of cotton top knitting and summer tops and just like more breathable plant fiber fabrics has been in my mind. And the other day I got myself some yarn. So essentially Lovecrafts, they tempt me. They're like, I think they had a sale for 2 hours, which seems like a weird marketing strategy if you ask me, but I fell for it. And they had this yarn on sale, which is Schachenmeier Cotton Bambulino. And this yarn is 60% cotton, 30% bamboo, and 10% linen, which I thought was a really interesting blend. And also, this is probably not going to show up, but it's sort of like a loose chain net construction. So I thought this might be actually quite nice to knit with, and I found some people knitting with it on Instagram, making some really cute sort of summer t-shirts. And yeah, so I thought I'd get myself, I think I got 5 balls of this. These are 50-gram balls, and they are 160 meters. I'm never 100% sure how much yarn I need with like summer tops, because as you can tell, I don't really knit summer tops very often. But I got myself 5 balls of this color and 1 beige contrast color, and yeah, I was a little bit inspired by the Friday tee by Petite Knit, which I don't think is meant to be a summer top, but you could make it a summer top. I think it's just a broken rib striped sort of garment. Not sure if I'm gonna make that, if I'm gonna make anything similar to it, but the idea of having the pink with the light beige stripes, which I realize now is basically the reverse of what I've done with my first Tulsa. But the idea just appealed to me, so I'm gonna make, I mean, I could just make something with the pink, but maybe I'll do some sort of like thin accent stripes or something. And I'm just really curious to see how this yarn is to work with, whether this is easier on my hands with the bamboo than the 100% cotton. So again, once I finish some stuff, this is something I would like to work with quite soon, and I'm quite excited about it. Alright, you guys, that is it in terms of yarny content. So if you want to stick around, I'm just going to be chatting about house adventures for a tiny little bit, but I will try to keep it short. Yeah, for those of you not in the know, we bought a house 4 months ago. We both said we are not really sort of crafty people in terms of like big projects. Like I can knit and sew, but I'm not great at like woodworking or painting or like all the things you need to do if you work on a house. And we are getting better at all that stuff because the house is just throwing us new challenges right, left, and center essentially. So I mentioned last week that we were fighting against the pigeons who wanted to desperately live in our wisteria, and we have won that fight. Unfortunately, we did not win, or for at least for a while, we did not win the fight against the carpet moths. So if you do remember, we had carpet moths, a lot of them. They ate the carpet in our wardrobe, and I think before we moved in, because we had holy carpet in our conservatory, I think that was like ancient carpet moth damage as well. So we got laminate in the conservatory, which is great. I thought we had gotten rid of the carpet moths in our bedroom, but they just decided, well, if we spray it everywhere, they're just gonna live behind our bed. So we dealt with that, and oh god, fingers crossed. I really want to be done with carpet moths. Like, we've done so much treatment, I feel like it would be impossible for them to come back, but I also don't want to jinx it, so who knows. Yeah, won the fight against pigeons. Not sure about the carpet moths, but for now we are good. We also do just get a fair amount of moths that just fly in because obviously we have the windows open. It is quite warm, and especially with our conservatory, if we don't have the door open, it just turns into a sauna. So I think we also just getting random like single moths flying through the windows. But I think we're good on that front, and all of my yarn is safe in its little plastic Ziploc home, and all my sweaters, or most of my sweaters, are safe, so we should be okay. Yeah, so then last weekend they started rendering parts of our house because our external rendering had some cracks, which is super fun. It's like spending money on something. Like, I just want the walls to be walls and not let water through. But yeah, it had to be done. So we finally started on that and had some hiccups because tradespeople never show up, or they change their mind, or it starts raining. But on Thursday, we finally got it all done. So it all started out really badly because they found some damp and they were quite worried about it, and all these things where they said they were going to have to come back and they were going to have to go on our neighbor's roof, which was impossible because they literally just exchanged on their house yesterday. But in the end, they all managed it. So actually now it's fine, and we should be good, and we should not have any more problems with rendering for a while. This, of course, means that now we have to paint our house again. To be fair, we're only going to paint the areas that they rendered because it is essentially behind a house, and part of it is behind our shed, and I'm not paying someone to paint behind my shed. Like, that is ridiculous. So yeah, like all these house projects are just taking up so much time. Or like, I needed to buy cement the other day to fix some like paving slabs on the patio, and then of course I got stuck in a situation where I had the cement in the buggy, my toddler buggy, and we were out and about, and where we were going, the escalator wasn't working, the elevator wasn't working. So then I had to like carry toddler up, leave him at the top of the steps, and then I would have just folded up the buggy, but I had the cement in the bottom, so oh my god, like my life is just ridiculous. But the good thing is, I think we are getting better at home improvement now. Like, we've done a lot of like jobs around the house, and I'm hoping all of this will be useful one day, and one day, once we have all the tools and we've made all the mistakes, it will actually save us money to be able to do stuff ourselves. So we will see. I feel like I just need to rewatch like all of Jude of Stranded Dye Works videos of the past 3 years, because I feel like he's been doing like a way more intense version of this for the past couple of years, and yeah, he knows it all now. Yeah, so basically, yeah, we've just been really, really busy, and there's been some toddler stuff and like other like life background admin stuff going on in the background as well. So I'm not going to lie, it's been quite stressful, but I'm hopeful. it's all gonna calm down a little bit soon. I'm hopeful our house just stops throwing us curveballs every 3 days because I'm so sick of it. Yeah, I just wanna sit and knit and actually enjoy the summer. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I will keep you updated for sure. Yeah, otherwise, I mean, I'm going to be knitting so much and just neglecting everything else because obviously it is F1 weekend and it's going to be Tour de France. So I'm going to be full-time watching. I mean, I say that. I won't. I'll be full-time parenting and juggling life. But my plan is, at least on the weekends, to be watching sports and knitting like a little hermit in my little knitting loft. And I'm really, really excited about it. And yeah, that's basically about it for now. I feel like I'm just waffling on, so I'm gonna let you go. But thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you guys know how much I appreciate all of your comments. I read all of them, and every time a comment pops up on my phone, I get really, really excited, unless they're rude, in which case I'm not that excited. I won't tempt you to write rude comments. It was nice to see you. I hope you guys have a lovely weekend, whatever you get up to. I hope you're all safe and healthy and have some yarn to play with. Thank you for watching. Happy knitting. Bye.